Hi, it's Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new teen book spotlight. So it is week 3 of our summer reading adventure. So if you haven't signed up, please make sure you do. HanleyRegional.org/youth summer reading to get in on all of this action. Because if you're going to watch this book talk, you get credit for prizes by watching this book talk. So you might as well take advantage of it. So our theme for this week, our badge for this week, is Tales That Woke. What we're taking a look at is we are looking at books that feature characters that normally would not be represented in literature, but they are part of our society and they need to be featured. So we're going to take a look at 6 titles. So let's get started. Our first one is The Music of What Happens by Bill Konigsberg. So Jordan and his mother own a food truck, but Jordan is known as the skinny emo kid in his high school. One day, right when his mother is having a complete emotional meltdown right in their food truck, a fellow classmate named Max shows up and gets to witness the whole thing. Max is the jock of the school. You know, he's the baseball superstar. He is incredibly popular, but he's also a self-proclaimed closet foodie. He doesn't want anyone knowing how much he loves to cook, bake, enjoys food. And after seeing everything that happens with Jordan and his mom, he offers that if they're willing to hire him, that he will take over Jordan's mom's place in the food truck for the summer and he'll help cook and do everything that needs to be done. So as the two start to work together, they soon find themselves learning more about the other person and sharing things that they have never told their friends, especially things that happened in their past. As the summer continues and the two of them start to see each other differently and wonder, is there more to them than just friendship? They're going to have to come to decide who they are as individuals and who they are with each other. So there are some mentions and descriptions of sexual assault as well as some homophobic slurs, so just be aware. Told through both of their points of view, make sure you check out this book if you love a good friendship to romance book while tackling topics that are not normally covered in young adult lit. This is The Music of What Happens. Girl in Pieces. So Charlie is 17 years old, and when our story starts, she is in a special facility that helps girls who have self-injury disorders. As she starts to respond to therapy, you learn what led her to being there as well as her dynamics with her family, which are very interesting. This all comes to a crashing halt, though, when her insurance is cut off and her mother refuses to take her back, leaving Charlie basically thrown out onto the streets from this place that she's been living. She's homeless and she has no idea what she's going to do, and she decides that she's going to go find one of her friends who she thinks is living in Tucson, Arizona. So she starts to make her way to Arizona. But this is just going to be the beginning of her journey, and it's going to be easier said than done. And she's going to be having to learn how to survive on her own and learning who she can trust and who she cannot trust and what can she trust of herself. Please be aware that there are topics and descriptions of self-harm and mutilation. There's homelessness, there is suicide, and some sexual assault. So just FYI going into this amazing read. It is told through a raw first-person point of view. You will know everything that Charlie thinks and feels as she learns to be a survivor for the first time in her life. This is Girl in Pieces. Stamped by Jason Reynolds. So this nonfiction book, right from the start, says that it's not a history book. But it kind of is, actually, because what it does is it takes a look and challenges you to think critically about the roots of racism in our history and country, starting all the way back to 1415, and it moves forward in chronological order. There is no clear opinion being presented, but just straight facts, allowing you, as the reader, to make your own decisions and opinions on this topic. This is the young adult reader's version of Ibram X. Kendi's Stamped from the Beginning, and is a must read because it probably will change how you look at the history of our country and will make you look at the events and people who are involved through different lenses. If you like to listen to books, I will highly recommend this one. I listened to this one. It is read by Jason Reynolds. It is incredible. I think it's only like 4 hours long. I would definitely read it, though, if you're not into listening to books. This is Stamped by Jason Reynolds. Marcelo in the real world. So Marcelo is 17 years old and has Asperger's syndrome, which makes him see the world differently from others. And he's also extremely self-aware. Wanting to stay in his school that specializes in helping students like him with cognitive disorders, he makes a deal with his high-power lawyer, his father, who's a high-power lawyer, who wants him to go to normal school. He will work the summer for his father's law firm in exchange that he gets to go to the school he wants to go to. Marcelo ends up working in the mailroom for this law firm, which places him in situations he's never been in before, such as having to think on his feet, multitasking, and people not understanding why the way he is the way he is, and trying to figure out who he can and cannot trust, or who might just be using him for their ultimate purpose. But he soon starts to learn and figure out that he can function in the real world, and he can figure out who he can trust and who he cannot trust, and he knows he can do more than what he thought he could. Told from Marcelo's point of view, you will get to see the world through the eyes of someone else and will make you more empathetic to those around you. This is Marcelo in the real world. Code talker. So when he was 6 years old, Navajo Kiyazi was sent to a mission school, which the goal there was to take Native Americans and to basically strip them of their identity and their heritage. Yes, this actually really did happen. And so when he gets to the school, they they basically start dressing him how they want him to be dressed. They try to, he's no longer allowed to speak his language. He has to speak English. They even change his name. So he's no longer called by his Navajo name, but he has to be called Ned Begay. But with all of that, he still holds on to his native language. He refuses to forget the language that he grew up speaking. So when World War II starts, he lies about his age and joins the Marines. And when it becomes known that he still remembers that Navajo language, he, instead of going to, fight in the front lines, he is sent to join a special group of soldiers. And it was their job to create these uncrackable codes that military people would use to communicate with during the war. And because of this, he will witness things and events that will change his life as well as the country's. This historical fiction work is a must read, and you will learn about the people who made our country what it is today without receiving any of the credit they deserve. Again, this is based on true stories. This actually really did happen. This is Code Talker. And our last one for today is Yes, No, Maybe So. So living in North Georgia, our story starts with two 17-year-olds who find themselves randomly working together on an election campaign. And they're trying to get this progressive candidate elected in this super conservative district, okay? So they're facing an uphill battle. But these two tweens never would have worked together without this campaign. And because you soon learn that Jamie is Jewish and Maya is Pakistani American and Muslim. And again, their paths would never have crossed without this campaign. But here they are working on this, and they start to grow closer, and they realize that life is way more complicated than they ever thought, especially with them coming from two completely different backgrounds and expectations, and their lives are not as perfect as what the other one thinks. And as they start to become friends, and they maybe start to become more as they start to examine all of these differences, they have to figure out what it is that they really want. This is told in both of their points of view, so you get Jamie's point of view and you get Maya's point of view. And if you love a book that is filled with teen activism, friendship, family, romance, and everything that comes with being a 17-year-old, make sure to pick this one up. This is Yes, No, Maybe So. So these are just 6 of the books that we have here at the library that feature characters that are just like everyday people. So feel free to come on down, check out one of these, or we can help you find whatever book you are looking for with whatever type of character, because at the library there is something for everyone. I hope you have a great week, and tune back next week when we have a whole new teen book spotlight as we continue with our summer reading adventure.